Hi friends, this is Deanna here today, and today we're going to be sewing up the Tiffany Tranquil tank. This is a great pattern for using as a base to layer or to just use as a fun cami for the summertime. It's got two different options. It's got the fitted option, which is what I'm wearing right now. That's got the seam down the back that gives you a really nice shape, and it's great for like putting under a coat or a jacket or something like that. And it also has a more relaxed option, which you can omit the seam on the back if you would like to, and it is also super comfy. So let's get started. All right, I've got my two backs, I've got my front, I've got my neck binding and my arm bindings. We're gonna start with our back. Now, I'm doing the fitted version, but if you're doing the loose fitting version, you can choose to do two pieces on the back or cut it on the fold, and then you don't have to sew it here in the back. But the reason why we do this back in mirror pieces, it's because your back has a nice little curve to it, and doing two backs makes it easier to be fitted around your back, and it just gives it a better look and a better fit. So we're gonna start by placing our backs right sides together and sewing that back seam. I'm going to be using my serger because you need a stretch stitch on your sewing machine or on your serger for this, since it's a knit pattern made with stretch fabric. So I'll be using my serger, but if you don't have a serger, you can use a stretch stitch on your sewing machine, a zigzag stitch, lightning bolt stitch, triple stitch. Those would all work. And we do have videos on our channel that shows you how to sew a knit pattern with just your sewing machine. Now we're gonna go ahead and open that back up and steam that seam, and you can go ahead and if you want to, you can top stitch that. I'm not gonna top stitch it, but if you want to go back and top stitch it, you can use any kind of stretch stitch to top stitch it. If I was gonna top stitch it, I would use a triple stitch or my cover stitch to top stitch it down. All right, next I'm gonna grab my back and my front, and I'm gonna place them right sides together. This sew is so quick and easy. We're gonna grab our front and our back, and we're gonna place them right sides together, and we're gonna sew our sides and our shoulder seams. I love being able to sew up these quick little tanks, and I think that they will be perfect for making, for wearing under like a coat or wearing under a cardigan, any kind of jacket. I love them, and they're so easy to sew up. So it's quick to make maybe some basic colors. I might be making, well, I'm definitely gonna make a black and a white, and just, I think it'll be so quick, so easy. All right, we're gonna sew that up. And then we're also going to work on our neckband and armbands. Now there's two ways to do the neckbands and armbands. They're very similar, but they're a little bit different, and it's up to you. So I'm gonna do the armbands one way and the neckband the other way, so you can see what the differences are. All right, for the first method, I'm gonna use my armbands. So I'm gonna measure up and make sure that I have the right pattern, the right pieces. Okay, and this method you're going to be steaming. So what you're going to do is you're essentially creating some binding by steaming it together and then attaching. On the second method, you're going to do without pressing, and it's going to be, you're going to trim the excess. So I'll show you that. First, we're going to start by folding wrong sides together to create that crease down the middle. And then we're going to open it up, and we're going to fold in those two sides towards the center crease. Where we created that crease, we're going to fold those two sides in. One tip is when I'm steaming down like double brush poly or any fabric like that, I want to make sure I'm giving it a ton of steam. I don't know if you see it coming up. So that way I don't burn my fabric. And make sure that you have your settings correctly depending on what fabric you're using, so you don't end up burning your fabric. All right, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and fold it down the middle, right sides together. So where that crease is, we're gonna fold right over it again. to make sure that crease is nice and pronounced. Now for both of the binding options, we're gonna next step, grab it right sides together and fold that short raw edge. Make sure that they're not turned so that you can get a nice even circle. Open up those creases that you created. You just wanna have those creases there because that's gonna help you sew it on, and then sew those short raw edges. All right, so we're gonna start with the armbands, and we're gonna do the method where I steamed and created basically like a binding. So what we're gonna do first is we're going to mark our quarters. And we're gonna do that for actually both methods. We'll be marking our quarters for both methods. So I can go ahead and do all of that at the same time. What we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our binding and we're gonna grab our back side and kind of fold it and go to the front and mark it. I like to mark it with like a little snip. Like a little snip like that, but you could just put a pin or whatever you like to do. And then I'm gonna match up the front and back here and go to the sides and mark those. And then for our garment, we're gonna match up, here is the top and bottom for the sleeve. And then I'm gonna match the top and bottom for the sleeve and go to the sides. Oops. Now for the neck area, it's a little bit more intricate, but I'm gonna show you. You're gonna grab your back seam, that's your back, and go to the front, and that marks your front point here. Okay, and then you're gonna grab your front and back, and you're gonna put those together and go to the sides, because your shoulder seams are not your quarter points. You need to make sure of that, because if you notice this, the front scoops a lot more than the back, which means you'll need more neckband going to the front than to the back. So you need to make sure that you mark those quarter points. All right, we're gonna start with the one method with the one I'm using for the armbands, which is where I did my fold over. We're gonna see that seam? I like to put that seam right with the under seam here. So we're gonna match up that seam, and I'm matching them up right sides together. Then I'm gonna go to the next point, which is my quarter point here, and I'm gonna match that up with the quarter point of my shirt where I made that quarter point. And I'm gonna do that for the other 2 points as well. And then I'm gonna go to my sewing machine, either your sewing machine or your serger or whatever you wanna do. With a stretch stitch, I'm going to sew it on. So when I sew it on, I'm going to go from this side and make sure that it's lined up with your shirt. And I'm gonna sew over that line right there, that first crease. Either sew over it or use your serger and sew up to it, however you wanna do it. A zigzag stitch, triple stitch, serger will work. I'm gonna do my serger. I'm doing the same method on the other sleeve or band, armband. I'm gonna show you just how to do the neckband here. I just went ahead and marked the quarter points on it as I did on my sleeve, well, my armband. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna match here the back seam, and then I'm gonna match up the other quarter points just like I did the armband. But you don't have to worry about having a mark where to sew. You're just gonna sew it right onto the armband to the bodice. So the neckband to the bodice. Words are hard sometimes. Okay, now we're gonna go sew that up. And obviously you can do whatever method you would like on this. I think I prefer the neckband method I'm gonna show you, but I like both, so we'll see. I'm also going to go ahead and hem, because that's, you know, getting everything done at once. Actually, no, you know what? I'm not gonna hem because I'll hem when I top stitch my bands. So let me go ahead and go sew these up. When you're sewing the armbands, make sure that you're stretching lightly the armband to fit the bodice. So, well, this is the neckline, so stretch the neckline to fit the bodice. Same with the armband. All right, so now what you want to do is you want to push the seam allowance towards the outer, towards the band. And now I'm going to start with the armbands and I'm going to show you. You're going to fold over that first fold and then fold over that seam allowance. So first fold and seam allowance like so. And you're going to clip or pin and top stitch all the way around. So fold over that first fold and then fold over the seam allowance. I'm gonna trim this extra allowance because it's gonna get caught when I top stitch. But you wanna cover that seam allowance there, okay? And like, see how I'm kind of stretching it out a little bit? You wanna stretch it out a little bit because it's gonna stretch a little bit to fit. So we're gonna push seam allowance up, fold over that first fold and go over. That's the first method. Now for the second method, it's the same thing. You're gonna push that seam allowance up, but this time you're just folding over and you're not worried about the this raw edge over here. And the thing is, when it's knit, you can do this option. Now you wouldn't want to do this option with a woven, though, you know, this pattern is not for wovens, but still you wouldn't want to do that option for a woven in a pattern, because the reason why this works is because this is a knit pattern. And so you can trim the excess afterwards and leave that raw edge. So that's why this works. But it wouldn't work if it was a knit, because it would fray on you. So this won't fray on you because it's a did I say knit? Because it's a knit pattern. If it was a woven, it would fray on you. Make sure that seam allowance is going towards over there towards the band, and then you're folding right over the seam allowance. If you you can steam that first if you want. It's pretty, this one is pretty easy and nice, this double brush poly, so that's why I'm not steaming. But if you have a fabric that wants to roll on you, you definitely want to make sure that you're steaming. So then we're going to go over to our sewing machine or our cover stitch, whatever you want to use, and we're going to top stitch that down. We're going to top stitch it down. I'm going to be using my cover stitch, but you can use, if you don't have a cover stitch, you can use a double needle, you can use a triple stitch, a zigzag stitch. Honestly, if I didn't have a cover stitch, my favorite way of top stitching is a triple stitch, which is a stitch on your sewing machine that has like 3 little lines, like line, 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 line. And it almost looks like a straight stitch, and it works really well. I love that stitch for top stitching. It looks more professional. And then while I'm here, I'm also gonna go ahead and hem. I'm gonna hem at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm just gonna go do this also at my cover stitch. And then we'll basically be done. With the stitch, with the method of the neckband where you just fold it over, you'll just come back and trim any extra seam allowance. And then on the other method, you'll be done because the seam allowance is encased. So if you don't want the raw edge to stay out, then you can do the first method. But if you don't mind, like, you know, we leave the raw edge here and it's fine, then you can do the second method. Let me know in the comments below which method you prefer and which one you think it's either easier or looks best, or what method you are going to be using for this tank. Here's one little tip with my cover stitch. When I'm sewing with my cover stitch, I want to make sure that I'm looking at where I'm going instead of my needles. So I try to place my fabric, so like right now I'm placing it so that it comes right up to that line right there, that middle piece, and continue to look as I'm feeding my fabric here. If I have a bigger allowance, then I'm gonna place it at the lines and look at the lines. They give you all these little lines here for a reason. If you're looking at the needle, it's harder to keep a straight, keep it going straight. So I'm looking right here and keeping that straight instead of looking at the needles. All right, now let me show you the difference. So with the, all right, let me show you the difference. So with the binding, you can see here, it's finished, that edge, and it has been binded, and it looks really good. Now with the neckline, it still looks really good, but you have this extra binding fabric here, and it looks good on it looks the same basically on the outside. See that? And so what you do now is we're gonna go back with our scissors and just trim that extra allowance. So we're just gonna be trimming that off. And when you're trimming that off, you wanna be really careful that you're not gonna actually cut the tank on the other side. This is the scary part. But if you're careful, you should be okay. And that's it. If you wanted to leave that extra seam allowance there, I mean, you could leave it, but it just kind of rolls. It's not long enough for it to show on the other side. It's just added bulk that you're just removing. That's basically it. So let me go ahead and finish removing this, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it a good steam. If it got a little bit stretched out, sometimes when you're sewing the bands, the fabric might get a little bit stretched out depending on your fabric. You may wanna give it a good steam, and then you're done. Now, comment below and let me know which one is your favorite way to do this right here, the top stitching. Do you prefer the way that I did it on the armbands, which was to do the steaming and then fold over, so it's a finished edge, or would you rather skip the steaming and just trim the excess at the end? I like both ways. Honestly, when I think about it, I probably prefer trimming at the end because it's just, I don't love steaming. It's not my favorite thing to do. Let me know below what you think. We are finished with this tank. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a steam, and then I'm gonna try it on and show it to you. It was so easy, quick, and super cute. So go grab your pattern if you haven't, and come back and sew it up with me. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss any of our other tutorials here on our Ellie and Mac channel. And then if you do sew it up, come share it with us on our Instagram or Facebook page, because we'd love to see it. So I'm gonna go try it on and show it to you. All right, here it is finished. I like that the straps are wide enough to cover my undergarments, and I think it fits really, really nice. I also like how it fits under, this is the Chapman cardigan. We have so many cardigans that are great to go on over like a layer, a second layer. But I think it's super cute. And I love that it was super quick to make. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'll probably tuck mine in so you can kind of tuck it into my pants. And I think it looks super cute. Comment below and let me know what you think. Let me know what option you're gonna make, and let me know which binding option you prefer. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.